Good evening. The notice requirement provided for the open public meeting law has been
Hello?
satisfied. Notice was properly given, said notice having been transmitted to the Courier News on January 12, 2022, as well as posting in the city's website. Mr. Clerk, good evening, sir. Can we have a roll call?
Good evening. Council members Briggs Jones,
Present.
Councilwoman Davis,
Present.
Councilman Hockaday,
Present.
Councilman McKenna,
Present.
Councilwoman Mills Ransom,
Present.
Vice President McCray,
Present.
and Council President Good.
Present.
Council President, we have all members present and a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. May I have a motion to approve the following minutes as presented? That would be, of course, the combined session on March 14, 2022. I need a motion for.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. We will move to discussion items. The 2022 budget schedule has been submitted to the council. If there aren't any any objections, I will ask the clerk to move forward with the publication of the budget schedule. Consideration of public hearing and second reading and final passage. Clerk, please read MC 2022-10 title and further certify that the ordinance has complied with all statutory publication requirements.
I believe Director Jackson had noted that there would be a request for a motion to table this ordinance. Is that correct, Director Jackson?
Yes, that is correct. We would like to table it and bring it back to the May meeting.
May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to table.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Clerk, please read MC 2022-11 title and further certify that the ordinance has complied with the statutory publication requirements, please.
Ordinance 2022-11 is an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank. It is hereby certified that notice of the public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on March 18th, 2022.
Floor is now open to any member of the public who would like to speak on this ordinance. There being none, may I have a motion to close the public hearing on this particular ordinance, please?
So moved.
Second.
May I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage, and if adopted, the ordinance shall be published as required by law. Clerk,
So moved.
may I have a second?
Second.
Clerk, may I have a roll call, please?
Council members Briggs Jones,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
This ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
Clerk, please read MC 2022-12 title and further certify that the ordinance has complied with all statutory publication requirements, please.
MC 2022-12 is a capital ordinance providing for various capital acquisitions and improvements by and in the city of Plainfield and the county of Union, New Jersey, and appropriating $574,222 thereof, $237,215.78 from general capital reserves from UCIA funds, and $337,004.22 from general capital fund balance. It's hereby certified that the notice of the public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on March 18th, 2022.
The floor is now open to any member of the public who would like to speak on this particular ordinance. With there being none, may I have a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance?
So moved.
May I have a second? May I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage, and if adopted, the ordinance shall be published as required by law.
So moved.
Seconded.
Clerk, may I have a roll call, please?
Council members Briggs Jones,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
yes,
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
That is unanimous. MC 2022-12 has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
Clerk, please read MC 2022-13 title and further certify that the ordinance has complied with all statutory publication requirements.
MC 2022-13 is an ordinance to amend Chapter 16A-1, Vehicles and Traffic, Schedule 1, No Parking, Time Limit of Municipal Code of the City of Plainfield, New Jersey, 1972. It's hereby certified that the notice of the public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on March 18th, 2022.
And the floor is now open to any member of the public who would like to speak on this ordinance. With there being none, may I have a motion?
We do have a member of the public, Ms. Nancy Pior.
Pardon me, please, Ms. Piwar, your
Yeah,
name and address for the record, please.
Nancy Pivar, 1129 Myrtle Avenue. I just want to make sure that there wasn't a typo in there. I had thought I brought it to somebody's attention, but one of the street names may not be correct. Marion's Place, I don't know where that is.
That'll be correct again. I gotta check that out.
Thank you, Director. Anything else, Ms. Piwar? Okay. Any more questions regarding this particular ordinance? If not, may I have a motion to close public hearing on this ordinance?
So moved.
Is there a second?
second,
May I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passages? And if adopted, the ordinance shall be published as required by law.
So moved.
second,
Mr. Clerk, may I have a roll call, please?
Council members Briggs Jones,
yes,
Davis,
yes,
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
yes,
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
That is unanimous. This ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
Mr. Clerk, please read MC 2022-14 title and further certify that the ordinance has complied with all statutory publication requirements.
MC 2022-14 is an ordinance to amend Chapter 16A-2 Vehicles and Traffic, Schedule 2, No Parking Certain Hours under the Municipal Code of the City of Plainfield, New Jersey, 1972. It is hereby certified that the notice of the public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on March 18th, 2022.
The floor is now open to any member of the public who would like to speak on this ordinance. With there being none, may I have a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance, please?
So moved.
second,
May I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage? And if adopted, the ordinance shall be published as required by law.
So moved.
second,
Clerk, may I have a roll call, please?
Council members Briggs Jones,
yes,
Davis,
yes,
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
yes,
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
That is unanimous. This ordinance has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
Mr. Clerk, please read MC 2022-15 title and further certify that the ordinance has complied with all statutory publication requirements.
MC 2022-15 is an ordinance amending the fee schedule of fines for illegally parked vehicles pursuant to Plainfield Municipal Code, Section 1651. It is hereby certified that the notice of the public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on March 18th, 2022.
The floor is now open to any member of the public who would like to speak on this particular ordinance. There being none, may I have a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance? Motion, please.
so moved,
Seconded.
May I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage? And if adopted, the ordinance shall be published as required by law.
So moved.
I need a second.
Second.
Mr. Clerk, may I have a roll call, please?
Council members Briggs Jones,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
Yes.
Kenna,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
and Council President Good.
Yes.
That is unanimous. MC 2022-15 has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
Clerk, please read bond 1257 title and further certify that the ordinance has complied with all statutory publications requirements.
Bond ordinance number 1257 is a bond ordinance providing for the purchase of equipment and improvements to the police building for the city of Plainfield and the county of Union, state of New Jersey, reappropriating $123,529.64 in excess bonds and or note proceeds from various bond ordinances not needed for their original purpose to finance the cost. It is hereby certified that the notice of the public hearing on this ordinance was published in the Courier News on March 18th, 2022.
The floor is now open to any member of the public who would like to speak on this ordinance. With there being none, may I have a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
May I have a motion to adopt this ordinance on second reading and final passage, and if adopted, the ordinance shall be published as required by law.
Moved.
Seconded.
Clerk, may I have a roll call?
Council members Briggs Jones,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
That is unanimous. Bond ordinance 1257 has been adopted on second reading and final passage.
Correction, it should say 1275, not 1257.
You are correct. Duly noted. Bond ordinance 1257.
Thank you. Now we get to public comment, limited to resolutions, motions, and ordinances to be introduced on the first reading. A total of 30 minutes has been allocated for public comment, limited to resolutions and ordinances only being considered this evening. If you wish to be heard, please hit the hand icon to be recognized and you will be unmuted. Once you have been unmuted, please give your name and address for the record. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes. The floor is now open. Mr. Goldstein, your name and address for the record,
Yes, good
please.
evening, everybody. 939, Alan Goldstein, 939 Madison Avenue. I wanted to, the other day I saw the resolution to send an application to the Department of Community or the local finance board relative to PMUA. And I asked the city council to consider tabling it at the time. I didn't realize at that point that you also have 2 ordinances in here on first reading to create a sewer and a solid waste utility, as well as a sewer utility. Now, I think you're way ahead of the game here. I want to just point out a couple of things in the resolution as well as in the ordinance itself. First is the first whereas, which says that the city has done a careful examination and analysis of the authority. And the other is in section 3, relative to payment of all creditors and obligations. And extrapolate from this, because it says the city council determines by resolution setting forth facts that constitute the basis for the determination. And I would say if you extrapolate from that, there has been nothing that's been put out there in terms of facts or why there's been a determination to shut down PMUA and take over its services. I'm not saying that it's better this way or better the other way, but it seems like this comes out at like 9 o'clock on a Friday night and you're taking action on it. There's been no information put out to the public as far as, what the ramifications are going to be in terms of the budget. What's the ramifications in terms of the employees? I mean, there's just a lot of questions out there. I mean, this whole situation really requires, its own individual meeting, where your plans are spelled out, where we could see actual numbers. I mean, putting this out like this is just really the same game that was played, at the beginning of the interlocal agreements. And we know where that got us. So I ask you to reconsider. There doesn't seem to, I don't know what the results are. I think that some of the participants in this process are seriously tainted. I'm not going to get into that right here. But whatever the decision is, we should know about it before the city council takes any type of action. You've already put out an RFP, and if I understand the timeline here, you're going to take a second reading in early June, and 20 days later, this is going to be in effect. So as of early July, there will be no PMUA. Meanwhile, your contract for collection doesn't begin to August, so one should assume that there'll be no pickup and of garbage or recycling for the month of July. I mean, that's the impression I get.
Mr. President, the speaker's time is up.
Thank you, Mr. Goldstein. As always, we appreciate your comments. Is there any more for public comment?
Motion to close.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Moving right along to resolutions. Are there any questions on resolutions R 146-22 and R 147-22? If not, may I have a motion to approve?
I move that we combine R 146 and 147-22.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. May I have a motion to approve 146-22 through 147-22?
So move.
Point of order, Council President, maybe I'm confused. I thought we didn't need to do that.
No.
We combined and
Yes, you
voted
did.
at the same
It is
time.
approved. Councilman McKenna, once again, you're correct. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
We've gone back and forth on that. I couldn't remember which one was the right one.
It is approved. Mr. Clerk, would you please proceed with the reading of the remaining resolutions? And Mr. McKenna, I can always count on you, sir. Thank you so much.
Moving along, resolution 148-22, authorizing the advice and consent to the reappointment of Carl Marshall to serve as municipal court judge.
Are there any questions? And do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Council President, to vote on R 148-22 through R 150-22.
Point of order. Does Councilman McKenna's motion supersede the motion that was made by Councilman Hockaday and seconded by me?
No.
I
No.
I can answer that. So
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Council President, may I address that? The issue of-
Sure you can, Ms.
Sure.
Mancello.
So certainly, listen, if there's a motion and a second, that controls. However, any council member can ask for the grouping of resolutions for the purposes of a block vote. The proper manner would just be to advise the council president that you wish to have them blocked. If the council president, as the presiding officer of the meeting, consents to that, then we can move forward as a block. So, in this situation, there was already a second, so that has to be handled, that has to be addressed first. However, Council McKenna may ask the council president at any time to block resolutions if he so desires.
So it's been moved in second for R 148-22. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? R 148 22 is approved. Mr. Clerk,
Resolution 149-22, authorizing a professional services contract to Aquashore.
are there any questions on R 149-22?
Just a motion to combine R 149-22 with R 150-22.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Mr. Clerk, please carry on.
Resolution 151-22, authorizing the making of an application to the local finance board to dissolve the Plainfield Municipal Utilities Authority.
Are there any questions? With there being none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Mr. Clerk? Mr. Clerk,
Resolution 152-22, seeking approval to enter into a 3-year agreement with Debt Bulk.
any questions, colleagues? Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Clerk, would you proceed with 153-22, please?
153-22, authorizing approval to cancel and reappropriate certain grant reserve balances associated with the American Rescue Plan Act.
Colleagues, are there any questions?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis.
Can you just explain the need to cancel and reappropriate these funds? Because it looks like a substantial amount of money that's being reappropriated. And based off of what the resolution is saying, the money was originally intended for. Can we just explain why we're now reappropriating it?
Yes,
And
the original plans for the money, was to try to do things specifically for the seniors as well as residential homeowners. And we got guidance that that was something that we couldn't do directly. So we are reappropriating so that we can, move those monies into different categories so that we can still have an impact on the budget to the benefit of all property owners.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions? Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Mr. Clerk?
Resolution 154-22, introducing the calendar year 2022 municipal operating budget.
Are there any questions? Do we have a motion?
So moved. Seconded.
All in favor?
Need a roll call on the budget.
May I have a roll call, Mr. Clerk?
Council members Briggs Jones,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
That is unanimous. The budget has been introduced.
Mr. Clerk, proceed, please.
Resolution 155-22, authorizing the purchase of 80 outer vest carriers and accessories for municipal emergency services.
Motion, Council President, to combine R 155-22 with R 156-22.
Is there a second?
Second.
So be.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Mr. Clerk?
Resolution 157-22, authorizing the award of a contract to Spec International.
Are there any questions? If there are none, do we have a motion?
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion approved for 157-22. Mr. Clerk?
Resolution 158-22, in support of the location and operation of a cannabis retail microbusiness to Queen City Wellness.
Are there any
Council
questions?
Please get it behind.
Just a motion to combine 158.22 through 160.22, as they're all the same.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Mr. Clerk,
I got the 158.22 through which one?
160.
Through 160.
Mhm.
Okay. Resolution 161.22 in support of location and operation of the cannabis retail microbusiness to Island Vibes.
Are there any questions? Do we have a motion and a second?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? R 161-22 is approved. Mr. Clerk,
Resolution 162.22 in support of location and operation of the cannabis retail business by Queen City Remedies.
are there any questions?
I have one question on this, Council
Councilman
President.
McKenna, Councilman McKenna, go right ahead.
Unless I'm mistaken, did we not already do a resolution for this location? A different name, but this location?
Council President,
Go right ahead, Director Jackson.
Councilman McKenna, we did the name at a different location. They have now, that purchase fell through, so they are purchasing this particular property at this time. So we're changing the address.
I got you. Okay, thank you.
Any more questions? If not, do we have a motion?
Moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Mr. Clerk, 163-22.
163.22 authorizing the refund of construction permits paid by Sunny Mac LLC for scheduled work at 717 through 19 Dorvay Place.
If there are no questions, I need a motion and a second.
Council President, can I motion to combine R 163-22 with R 164-22?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. We're at 165-22.
165.22 authorizing the transfer of certain financial agreement between the city of Plainfield and Quinn Owner Urban Renewal LLC.
If there are no questions, I need a motion and a second.
I have a question.
Go right ahead, Councilman McKenna.
I guess it would be for Director Jackson. Have you met with the three new entities that are making this purchase?
Yes, I have. I've met with the group. The larger company name is Oxford Realty, and Oxford Realty owns a number of properties throughout the Northeast, New Jersey, New York, and Pennsylvania. Mhm.
And did they get the full rundown of the planning resolutions and the park and the whole 9 yards? So we don't have to go, have to go down that road again?
No, we do not have to go down that road again. They've gotten the full explanation they are aware of and will address any of the outstanding issues at the Quinn. So they're fully aware.
Current principals are not involved in any way in any of those three LLCs?
No,
Oh.
this would be a complete transfer to the new entity.
This thing's getting
Mhm.
more not getting transferred. Thank you. I'll make a motion.
I'm sorry, if there are not any more questions, I need a motion in a second.
Second.
I was coughing earlier. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Clerk, 166-22.
Resolution 166.22 in support of the location and operation of a cannabis retail business by Leaf Retail LLC.
Are there any questions? If none, I need a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Motion carries. Mr. Clerk, 167-22.
Resolution 167-22, authorizing the planning board to conduct an area in need of redevelopment of certain properties identified in the city's tax records as block 713, lots 1 through 5.
Colleagues, are there any questions?
I don't have a question, but I have more of a comment. In looking at this resolution and seeing some of the properties listed, I'm glad that this is getting a look by the planning board because some of these properties have been problematic, especially in an area where it could be high traffic and it could be more robust and more beneficial to the residents of the city.
Are there any more questions? Do we have a motion and a second?
Moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Mr. Clerk?
Resolution 168-22, authorizing the Historical Society of Plainfield to submit a grant application to the New Jersey Historic Trust.
Colleagues, are there any questions? If none, please, I need a motion and a second.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed or any abstaining? Motion carries. Mr. Clerk, I believe we're at 169-22.
69-22.
A motion to combine R 169-22 through R 173-22.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. I believe we're at 174, Mr. Clerk.
Resolution 174-22, authorizing the city of Plainfield to enter into an agreement with Property Registration Champions LLC.
Is there any questions? If there are none, I need a motion and a second.
I have a quick question.
Mr.
Is this
Councilman McKenna.
Is this replacing something that's currently existing?
No,
Was it taking a manual process and putting it into this company's app tracker kind of thing?
no. Fast Track is a different system that the city uses. This is a simple third-party agreement where they collect the fees for us, and then we collect the money from there.
Oh, I got you. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions? If none, I need a motion and a second, please.
Council President, I move we combine resolution 174-22 with 178-22.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. I believe we're down to new items. We have a motion. Pardon me?
179.
No, she did 170. Oh, new items. Okay.
We did
With,
78.
That would be new items.
No, once,
Mhm.
yes.
yeah.
I'm sorry, colleagues. Am I wrong?
No,
Yeah,
you're right.
Okay, thank you.
You get a star.
And a cookie to go with my tea. May I please have a motion to add resolutions 179-22, recognizing April as National Volunteer Month to the agenda for consideration.
Seconded.
May I have a motion to approve resolution 179-22?
I just have one quick comment, Council President. First of all, thank you for putting that on the agenda. And I want to just say that a resident brought this to my attention. I was not aware it was National Volunteer Month, and asked that I do this resolution. And I think it's an important thing for us to send a message out to the community, especially our young kids, to get involved and volunteer their time. It's good for good for their college resume applications, but it's also good for them and it's good for the community. And I think we all know that going through the pandemic, there's a lot of people in the city that would not have gotten through it without that volunteer ism. And there are a lot of people that volunteered that got through the pandemic as a result of being able to do that. So.
Okay. Are there any questions about this particular resolution? And do we have a motion?
So move.
Oh, second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. We now have introduction of ordinances on their
Council
first.
President, Council
Uh,
President,
Director Jackson, good evening. How are you?
I'm fine. I forgot, and I don't know if it's okay for me to do this, but R 168-22, I wanted to amend the resolution to authorize the mayor or his representative to execute any associated documents with the grant. I discovered later that that statement wasn't in there. And Dave, you can tell me if it's legal or not to do that.
Only the mayor can execute any necessary agreements. If Director Jackson, if you would like, certainly, an amendment can be made at this time if you feel it is necessary.
Yeah, I think
Did we not include apply and accept? Is that what we didn't do?
no, we included apply and accept, but there's some documents that I found out about after the resolution was submitted that needs to be executed as part of the application by the mayor.
And that was one, what was it? Which one was that?
168-22.
Council President, I would recommend that a motion be made to allow the mayor to execute any and all necessary agreements associated with Resolution 168. And you could do that by a motion at this time, and that would suffice.
I need a motion.
So moved. I move that the mayor execute all of the paperwork associated with 168-22.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? 168 is amended. Thank you, Director Jackson.
We kept Nancy Peower from going to jail.
And we can't have that. No, we can't. So introduction of ordinance on their first reading. We now come to ordinance on first reading, and that would be clerk. Would you read MC 2022-16 by its title, please?
MC 2022-16 is ordinance authorizing and encouraging electric vehicle supply service equipment and make-ready parking spaces and amending the penalties for non-compliant parking.
Are there any questions from the council right now?
Just a point of clarification, mostly, I think, so the public understands this is for us to be able to put in and for others to be able to have electric parking stations, and then to be able to have a rule and a penalty about non-electric vehicles parking in charging spots, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any more questions? I'm going to entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance on first reading.
So moved.
I need, is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Clerk, I need a roll call for this, please.
Council members Briggs Jones,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
The ordinance has been adopted on first reading.
Mr. Clerk, I believe we have MC 2022-17.
MC 2022-17 is an ordinance of the city of Plainfield and the county of Union, New Jersey, enacting amendments to the TODD West redevelopment plan.
Are there any questions from the council? I'm going to entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance on first reading.
So moved. Seconded.
Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Moved by Councilman McCray, seconded by Councilman Hockaday. Roll call on MC 2022-17. Council members Briggs Jones,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
That is unanimous. The ordinance has been adopted on first reading. MC 2022-18 is an ordinance authorizing supplement to Plainfield City Code Section 20:1-1 cannabis transfer tax and user tax.
Colleagues, any questions?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis.
So Director Jackson, is this ordinance basically saying that once a year, cannabis retail businesses just have to give the city their like audit reports?
It's all cannabis businesses, so they have to provide the city with an annual audit report so that we can collect the 2% transfer tax. So we'll calculate it based on their audit report.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance on the first reading.
So move.
Is there,
Second,
Mr. Clerk, I need a roll call, please.
Moved by Councilman McCray, seconded by Councilwoman Davis. Council members Briggs Jones,
Yes.
Davis,
yes.
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
yes,
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
This ordinance has been adopted on the first reading. MC 2022-19 is an ordinance to amend Chapter 16A-2 Vehicles and Traffic Schedule to no parking on certain hours under the municipal code of the city of Plainfield, New Jersey, 1972.
Mr.
Are
Council
there any-
President, Council President, if I may, I just make a correction on
Yes.
this ordinance, this ordinance as well. It should be Marina's Place, not Marion. Okay, that's the correction for that. With this Marion Place, it should be Marina's Place, one street. So that would be in this one and also MC 2022-13. Instead of Marion Place, it should be Marina's Place, street.
Okay, do we need to amend that?
No, Council President, I would think that's a scrivener's error and would not require a motion to amend. We'll make sure that that's the typo is corrected in the second reading.
We'll have to have a talk with Mr. Typo, won't we?
Yes,
I entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance on the first reading.
Second.
Mr. Clerk, I need a roll call.
Moved by Councilwoman Davis, seconded by Councilman McCray. Roll call on MC 2022-19. Council members Briggs Jones,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
yes,
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes, sir.
This ordinance has been adopted on first reading. MC 2022-20, an ordinance repealing and deleting Chapter 9, Section 15-1 through 15-104, the Plainfield Municipal Code.
Are there any questions, colleagues?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis.
How is deregulating taxis beneficial to the residents of the city?
Mr. Mancello?
Thank you, Council President. At least I can back up for everyone's understanding here. The administration has requested that the council approve deregulation of taxi cabs in the city of Plainfield. By law, each municipality has the right whether to regulate or to not regulate taxi licenses. For years in Plainfield, we've had an elaborate system for regulation, not only requiring that we only have a certain amount of licenses, but we also require that every driver in part go to the police department and be registered. The problem though is that their competition, Uber, is not regulated and by state law cannot be regulated locally. So for lack of a better phrase, the Uber has been eating our local cab company's lunch. This is an opportunity to allow our local cab companies to compete with Uber so they are now on equal footing. They will have the same lack of regulation as does Uber and Lyft. As for the residents, I can only expect that this would be beneficial because we have heard internally that for those who use taxi cabs, it has been very difficult at times to actually get a taxi cab because of the limited amount that are allowed. So we hope this will allow more cabs to meet the needs of the residents. So that is basically the spirit of what we're trying to do here in deregulating taxi cabs. Happy to answer any questions you have.
So I understand like deregulating them in terms of how many taxi cabs can operate in the city. But I think in terms of like background checks and stuff, Lyft and Uber, they do perform background checks on their drivers. So I think that having taxi drivers get background checks isn't some undue burden, because even if you drive for Lyft, you still have to have a background check. And Lyft and Uber, they have like company standards and they have policies, they have checks and balances. If you're unhappy with the service, they have enhanced safety features. Like they have a lot of regulations, more regulations in some instances than our own taxi drivers have. I get like wanting more taxi drivers so they can compete with that, but I think this is kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater by completely deregulating them altogether.
Well, the only thing I can say in response, Councilwoman, obviously that's a policy decision you've enunciated. However, I think it's, the job of this body is to create regulation. If your response is, well, Lyft and Uber regulate themselves, well, that's good. That's all well and good, but there's no requirement that they be regulated by Plainfield. So to continue to regulate is to put an additional regulatory burden on our local cab companies. That is not the case for Uber and Lyft. And also, I think what you've also outlined, or you've kind of assumed that our local cab companies don't regulate themselves either. You've kind of referred to Uber and Lyft as companies that have lots of self-regulation, but there's no reason to say that our local cab companies wouldn't want to do a good job and make sure that their drivers are licensed, because that benefits their bottom line as well, that they have a good service. So I just want to recognize that our local cab companies can do those same things that Uber and Lyft do now.
Thanks. That's a good explanation, Counselor. It sounds like something that we need to do. I mean, they certainly have been crushed by Uber and Lyft, but part of it is, their own doing and not in being behind the times. I still don't see a lot of residents using them if they don't have an app, that where residents can see where the car is, get an ETA on where their taxi cab is. If they're not going to get up with the times, deregulating alone does not help them actually compete. They need some technology involved in that. So hopefully they get that message as well.
I concur. Any more questions? If there are any, I need a motion and a second to adopt this ordinance on the first reading.
Seconded.
Mr. Clerk, I need a roll call for this ordinance, please.
I believe that was a motion by Council Vice President McCray
Yes.
and a seconded by Councilman Hockaday. Council members Briggs Jones. Councilwoman Briggs Jones.
I'm sorry, yes.
Councilwoman Davis.
No.
Councilman Hockaday.
Yes.
Councilman McKenna.
Yes.
Councilwoman Mills Ransom.
Yes.
Vice President McCray.
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
6 in favor, 1 opposed. This ordinance has been adopted on first reading.
We're at MC 2022-21.
The 2022-21 is an ordinance of the City of Plainfield and the County of Union, State of New Jersey, dissolving the Plainfield Municipal Utilities Authority pursuant to NJSA 48:5A-20.
Colleagues, any questions? I'm going to entertain a motion to adopt. I'm sorry, did I cut someone off just now?
Yeah, I'm not sure where we want to jump in here with an overview of what all these motions
So
are.
to speak to it, yeah.
I can speak to that. I can speak to a general overview.
PA Levinson?
Thank you. And just for the knowledge, just for the sake of everybody listening, the council did have an executive session earlier to go through the ins and outs of everything, all the finances and savings and all the details that won't be shared here, but I will share a general overview that it is our intent, and what we're asking for is to dissolve the PMUA for reasons of economy and efficiency. We're looking to increase services We're looking to have more services. We're looking to have faster and more reliable services in Plainfield. We're looking to decrease costs at what we're estimating to be about a 10% savings per resident for use of these services. And that in the biggest picture, that's what we're looking to do, and we believe and we've outlined for the council that plan and what that looks like, and showed them the financial details of how we are going to be doing that. I don't want to get into that now, but I do want to say that we're looking at a 10% savings per resident. We're looking at moving the PMUA services into the city. All those services are the trash and recycling collection, bulk waste pickup, sewer maintenance, transfer station, everything that the PMUA does. We're looking to move it under the city umbrella as a utility, both a utility for sewer and a utility for trash, for waste management. And we would run those the same. We're looking at quite a significant savings, and that would be passed on to the residents. And we also have full faith that the services would improve. I'm happy to answer more specific questions, but with the understanding that we're not going to get into anything related to personnel or specifics.
Would you just touch on two things, B.A. Levinson, shared services and and maybe Mr. Mancello is the one for the second part, I don't know, the whole timing thing and the difference between the resolution for the application, et cetera, because it's very, I think, confusing in people's minds, the different stops and starts and the local finance board, et cetera.
So we're looking at an elimination of the shared services. There wouldn't, I mean, if the city takes over the PMUA and takes over their services, we're not going to pay ourselves. So that would be eliminated from the budget. And in terms of the timing, so we had a resolution obviously on the agenda earlier this evening. We have an ordinance now. The second reading of the ordinance would not be on the May council meeting. It would be in the June council meeting, because we would first have to go to the local finance board, who meets once a month. They're part of the DCA, and that would be the May presentation, and then we would come back to council in June. Pretty soon after that June council meeting, we would be looking to start the new process of running the trash and sewer in Plainfield.
I had just a couple of questions or comments. So, obviously these two ordinances being introduced are significant for the city. It's a massive undertaking for the city to absorb or dissolve essentially PMUA. But we know this is something that residents have been clamoring for some time, especially more specifically in increasing in services, a more reliable service. So that is certainly welcome. So, I do want to give some praise to the administration for working on this and getting this far. So, we're almost there. For me, I never liked the extra bill. I didn't have anything against PMUA personally until of late. The services hasn't been so good, but it's mainly that extra bill that we all get, that sometimes you forget about, and then it goes to tax lien. I'm guilty of that too, at one point in my home ownership. That's something that's always kind of been a thorn in the side, but I've always reconciled the existence of PMUA because I knew that it employed individuals who were second chance citizens, people who, might have a criminal record. PMUA was employing, so in a sense, it kind of felt like, it's a way to give back to make sure that people have jobs, that might not be able to get employed elsewhere, right, immediately after, until they prove that that they're a good worker. But all I say to this, because I know it's not fully formed yet, is that I'm trusting that the administration continues to care for these individuals who are second chance citizen. You know, we know we have a lot in Plainfield, and especially in light of the fact that we're on the backdrop of marijuana legalization, where you know there's probably a decent chance that some of the workers in there might have had marijuana offenses, and that's the reason why they're second chance citizens. You know, so it would be criminal. That's not a good word. It would be not good to not make sure that we're taking care of our second chance citizens. So if the administration can just speak, not specifically, but just in broad terms regarding its intentions regarding that.
Yeah.
Mr. President,
Mr. Mayor, I was going to yield the floor to you. I had a feeling you had something to say, so the floor is yours, sir.
I think the point that was made by Councilor Hockaday is a very good point. And we want to, at every turn, make sure that we embrace the members of our community that have had unfortunate run-ins with the law and who deserve to be treated just as well as any other resident of the city of Plainfield. And so to that end, we will continue to make sure that whenever there's an opportunity for us to provide opportunities to our second chance residents, that we will do that. And it is our goal, it is our hope that we will continue to embrace these individuals because they, as the term suggests, deserve a second chance and will be treated fairly and justly. That is our pledge, our commitment from this administration.
Well said. Any more questions? If there aren't, I'm going to entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance on the first reading, and I'm also going to need a second.
So move. Second.
Mr. Clerk, can I have a roll call, please?
Moved by Vice President McCray, seconded by Councilman Hockaday. So roll call on MC 2022-21. Council members Briggs Jones,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
yes.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
That is unanimous. This ordinance has been adopted on first reading. To MC 2022-22 is an ordinance of the city of Plainfield and the county of Union, state of New Jersey, creating a sewer utility and a solid waste utility.
Are there any questions, colleagues? If there aren't any, I'm going to entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance on first reading, and I'm also going to need a second.
So move.
Second.
Mr. Clerk, we need a roll call, please.
Moved by Vice President McCray, seconded by Councilwoman Davis. Roll call on MC 2022-22. Council members Briggs Jones,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Yes.
That is unanimous. This ordinance has been adopted on first reading.
Clerk, let's talk about bond 1267.
76.
76.
76.
76.
I'm looking at 1267, but if you guys say 76, okay.
67.
Yes, 67, 1267.
Bond ordinance 1267.
Mr. Clerk, what is it, please?
I have 67, but give me 1 second.
I have 76.
Online, it says 76.
It says 76 on this too.
Right.
Do we need to have another talk with Mr. Typo?
Well, 77 is right behind that.
Correct.
And we have 68 right after that. So
It seems to be a typo, but if you look at the bond ordinance that was adopted on first reading, because they go in numerical order, it was bond ordinance 1257. So the next bond ordinance would be 1258, and the following bond ordinance after that would be 1259. That would be correct. So we're on 1258.
None of us have either of those options.
Bond ordinance we adopted on first reading. It's bond ordinance 1258, which would make the next bond ordinance that we do. I'm sorry, bond 1257. So the next bond ordinance would be 1258.
So some of us have 1267 and some have
We need to
1270.
get this straight.
Yes, so ignore any of those bond ordinance numbers. The bond ordinance that we adopted on first reading was 1257. So the next bond ordinance that we would do would be 1258, and the following would be 1259.
1259. Okay, Mr. Clerk, talk about 1258.
Bond ordinance 1258 is a bond ordinance providing for various 2022 acquisitions and improvements by and for the parking utility of the city of Plainfield and the county of Union, state of New Jersey, appropriating $200,577 thereof and authorizing the issuance of $191,025 bonds or notes of the city to finance part of the cost thereof.
Council colleagues, I solicit your questions if there are any. And if there are none, I will entertain a motion to adopt this ordinance on the first reading, and I'll also need a second, please.
So move.
Is there a second? Second here. Mr. Clerk,
Second.
may I have a roll call?
Council members Briggs Jones,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Hockaday.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, Council President Good.
Yes.
Flashbacks.
It's like the button. Okay, stop.
The hours
Okay.
getting late. And we come to bond ordinance 1259, bond ordinance providing for various 2022 capital acquisitions and improvements by and in the city of Plainfield and the county of Union, state of New Jersey, appropriating $4,387,777 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $4,178,335 bonds or notes to the city to finance parts of the cost thereof.
Are there any questions? I need a motion to adopt this ordinance on the first reading along with a second, please.
So move.
Second.
Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Council members Briggs Jones,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Hockaday,
Yes.
McKenna,
Yes.
Mills Ransom,
Yes.
Vice President McCray,
Yes.
Council President Good.
Oh, me. Oh, okay. Yes.
That is unanimous. The bond ordinance has been adopted on first reading. And again, for the record, to reflect, those were corrected as bond ordinance 1258 and 1259.
Mr. Clerk, thank you so much, sir. We're going to move to general comments now, and a total of 60 minutes has been allocated for all public comments to be presented here tonight. And each speaker will be allotted 5 minutes. And if you wish to be heard, please hit the hand icon to be recognized, and you'll be unmuted. And once you're unmuted, please give your name and your address for the record. Again, each speaker will be giving 5 minutes, and the floor is now open. The floor is now open. Okay. Ms. Burnwinkle, your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, everyone. Mary Bergwinkle, 1785 Sleepy Hollow Lane.
Hi, Ms.
And
Burnwinkle. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I just, about this PMUA thing, it just seems a little, I don't want to use the word arrogant, but I mean, all of us taxpayers out here, our lives are going to change dramatically, you know, with this PMUA thing. And, you know, I think I'm not, I hate to use the word gullible, but I don't think I'm gullible enough to believe that somehow this is not going to cost more for the people who use it. And I just think that it would have been better for the administration and the council to give more transparency on what's going on here. I mean, it looks like we just moved to end it, and no one of the citizens don't know anything about it. So, I mean, that's really all I had to say. I mean, I just think that it's a little dramatic to do it this way. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Burwinkle, for your comments. Have a good night. Mr. Goldstein, your name and address again for the record, please.
Yes, good evening once again, 939 Madison Avenue. And hello, Mary Bergwinkle. I want to thank the mayor and Councilman Hockaday and Business Administrator Abby Levinson for the smoke that they were blowing before. I think the point is very clear. I mean, you don't care that the public is in the dark about all of this. I think you operate as if you could get away with stuff. You're not giving this any amount of time. You've engaged someone who was one of the architects of the cover-up of the scam to essentially let PMUA embezzle upwards of $2 million from the city in the early days of the interlocal agreement and keep us in the dark as to what PMUA is actually creating in the way of waste and how much that costs and who's to pay the disposal costs. Mr. Mincello is laughing because Mr. Mincello is part of the problem. Why it took 8 years for the mayor
Mr. Goldstein? Mr. Goldstein? Mr. Goldstein seems to have left us. Ms. Piwar, your name and address again for the record.
Yeah, Nancy Pivar, 1129 Myrtle Avenue. First of all, I'd like to thank Ms. Jackson and Ms. Levinson and Mr. Mincello for the amendment. It's a 37-page application, and there's so many agreements, and there's I think it's 8 or 9 attachments. So I appreciate your clarification on that. And Mr. Dabney, as far as the typo goes, sometimes computers change words, so it wasn't a slight against you. The computer could have made it. I just wanted to make sure that the right street got the right no parking signs. This past week, I was on a meeting, and I think Councilwoman Briggs Jones was on the meeting for the Greenbrook Flood Control Commission. And I think the city needs to make sure that Ms. Jones has some backup at some of these meetings, because it's going to be a major project. And we were informed at that meeting, if I understand correctly, that they're going to have to come back through and restudy, the Army Corps restudy the channelization of the Greenbrook, because it's not cost effective to put up 2 retention basins up in the upper basin of the Greenbrook. And there's a lot of money involved. And I've been around since they started this plan after the 1973 flood. And I'm very concerned about in the western end of the city where they're going to put levees. And we've had some new construction along the Greenbrook, and a lot of the levees are going to protect North Plainfield. But if they're only on one side of the brook, then the water's might come into Plainfield, and I'm concerned that the water could come into the apartment buildings that are on Clinton Avenue. So it's going to be a major project. I think they said that they were going to have to restudy it. Councilwoman Briggs Jones was on the meeting too, but we need to keep aware of what's going to happen within the next 3 or 4 years, because the impact of Plainfield could be great. It might not be any impact, but It's a whole new plan. The Army Corps usually does know what they're doing, but if they have to restudy the area, obviously the plans that they made like in 73, 74, 75, whenever they were done, they have to restudy them because it's because of the cost effectiveness. When they decided not to do the retention basis, it's because it wasn't cost effective. It was going to cost more money to do the retention basis than to save, than to do the channelization. They're not going to do Manville, which is unfortunate. And it's fortunate that Greenbrook Flood Control Commission got in place in the 1973s through Vernon Noble and a few people in North Plainfield and Plainfield, because we wouldn't be at this place right now. So I just want to make the city aware, and I hope that they'll support Ms. Briggs on that, Briggs Jones on that commission meeting, because it's a lot of, you need hydrologists and engineers to sometimes understand what they're saying. So hopefully they're going to have some public meetings, but people in town need to be aware of what's going on with the channelization of the Greenbrook. Thank you.
Ms. Piwar, thank you so much for your comments. It's always
Mr.
appreciated.
President,
Mr. Mayor, go right ahead, please.
yeah, that is a very important commission, and I know that Councilor Briggs Jones is the council's rep, but I also have an appointment to that commission, and if there's anyone who has a recommendation in light of what Nancy Piwar just stated, please get in touch with my office.
Okay, moving right along. Ms. Borsa, good evening. Your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, everyone.
Good
Leela
evening.
Sforza,
Good evening.
1046 Hillside Avenue. Just for point of clarification, I don't normally attend these meetings, but I'm a bit concerned as to Mr. Goldstein being disconnected or unable to speak for his 5-minute allotment. I just want to make sure that it's on the record that he wasn't disconnected by anyone in the administration or on the council, etc. Just
Ms.
looking for
Borza, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Michelli.
I'll speak on behalf of both the city and the administration and the council that in no way was Mr. Goldstein disconnected. If there was any disconnection, it was on his end, not ours.
Okay.
And for the record, Ms. Borso, people do call in and get cut off, but they call back. So,
okay.
You know,
So
we're here for, they get 5 minutes. It's a total of 60 minutes that has been allocated for the public comment. So he's perfectly welcome to call back.
okay, I'll reach out to him. I'm not necessarily agreeing with his position or not, but I like to have everyone be able to speak and comment just so we get a better understanding of what the issues are.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, Ms. Borsa. Have a great night.
You too.
Mm-hmm. Are there any more comments from the public? Mr. Webb, your name and address for the record, please. Good evening, Mr. Webb. Your name and address, please, for the record.
6 Netherwood Avenue, Plainfield, New Jersey.
I'm sorry. Can you say that again, Mr. Webb?
Victor Webb, 226 Netherwood Avenue, Plainfield, New Jersey.
Good evening.
Good evening. I just wanted to thank the council for approving the resolution to recognize April as National Volunteer Month. I think it's very important that our residents continue to get involved in their communities, not just during April, but all throughout the year. It's service is something that's very important and drives people to become better citizens. And Plainfield can definitely use better citizens. I would also like to share that the Plainfield Public Schools is looking for volunteers to get involved with developing their strategic plan. Education and the education of our youth is something that's very important. Also, that fosters young adults to grow into well-rounded citizens, and also any input that they can give into helping develop the strategic plan, whether it's in building facilities, instruction and curriculum, anything moving our education system forward with great insight from the citizens would be welcome. So if you look on the Plainfield Public Schools website, you'll be able to see a flyer. They're looking for volunteers right now. And I'd just like to say thank you once again, and thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. We appreciate your comments. Have a great evening. Are there any more public comments? With there being none, I make a motion that we close. I don't make a motion. I entertain a motion to close public comment.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any opposed? Any abstaining? Motion carries. Colleagues,
Council President,
administration.
just a
Go
quick,
right
just a
ahead.
quick.
Yes, Councilman
Um,
McKenna, go ahead.
This situation with Mr. Goldstein being removed, he was removed. He got a message from Zoom saying that the host removed him from the meeting and he is unable to rejoin. This is the second time this has happened. If this is happening accidentally, then we need to get some training, and it's odd that it keeps happening with Mr. Goldstein. But that's unacceptable. If this is occurring, if someone's clicking incorrectly, it's just not acceptable at all.
Councilman McKenna, if that is the case, I apologize. I only went on the information that was provided to me. When I.
Yeah, this is the second time this has happened, and Zoom specifically tells you, and you're not able to rejoin because you've been ejected, I guess.
Okay, well, listen, we will certainly review it on our end to see what the issue is, but I assure you, I only spoke after consulting with the administration and the clerk as well. So the information that I had was that we did not remove him, but I will review it and going forward. Yeah.
Thank you. Colleagues and administration, thank you all for joining us tonight and giving all your input. We appreciate you. So with that being said, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstaining? Motion approved. Everybody, good night. Have a great evening. Be
Night.
safe.